Time we get started. Let's see. Who was first in the chat today? Well, surprisingly enough, it's not John H. Kingston III from Rockaway Park. Oh, great! Now the pinned post is covering up the first person. What is it? Alessandro Braz. Hey, you were first today. What's up, F-Stop? Pavel K2 is here. The Ubik. Good evening from Dublin. Right back at you from New York. Martin Crockett is here. Jay Chris from Luxembourg. Welcome. Todilas or Todias is here. Uncle Acid is back. Dot Initial says sick vocal. Yeah, the spoken word in this thing is man, I can't even remember where I found it. It's a found thing. It's like some reciting some strange words. And, I don't know. I thought it made a good layer for this soundscape. I have to go back and see if I can figure out where that came from. The Ubik asks, is it techno or electro today? Well, techno, but honestly, we could do both, really. I mean, there's no limit. Well, there's a time limit, but it depends on what we can squeeze in. But thinking more along the lines of techno today. Martin Crockett. Did I already say Martin Crockett? I think I did. Mouvement Sequentiel is crossing his fingers, or their fingers, for electro. Yeah, as I just said, a little more techno today. And Simple Sam, yes. It wouldn't be a live. I don't think it would be a 343 stream without Simple Sam at this point. He's so consistent. Live Society. Daniel from IntelliGel is here. Good morning. Functor, Peter Pause. Hey, Shanksy. Ame. Stefan Mueller. And Din McKine. Right. Up to the minute. Welcome to another Selway Techno Saturday here on 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School in New York and Berlin, online and in person. I wanted to see how much I could get into one breath, and I started running out. It's because I didn't take a deep breath beforehand. That was the problem. What a day. Right before the stream started, my camera decided to freak out and shut off, even though it's powered by a dummy battery. I don't know what's going on. So if you want to cross your fingers for something, cross your fingers that the camera doesn't shut off in the middle of the stream. But you know what? It's no big deal if there's no camera, because we've got screen sharing and sound, and you don't have to look at me. That's fine. So this week was a big week. We just launched our new online hub, our music making community, 343 Studio. And we are rolling. The plans, there's a 14-day free trial on the paid plans. And we've got, Abe's doing a collab workshop. All of the instructors are sharing feedback sessions and mentorship sessions. There are master classes and things like that. I'm actually doing something today, not too late to sign up. There should be in here in the chat somewhere a link about 343 Studio and what we're doing and how to sign up for that. But yeah, I'm going to do, if you guys want to hang out and talk and ask questions in real time, not just in this chat, I'm doing about an hour and a half today. And it's Techno Fundamentals. Honestly, it's going to be kind of a loose class, not like, very set up, structured lessons. It's going to be, we're going to do some discussion about different concepts about techno. And of course, make some sounds and music and beats or whatever. But I just have some things that I want to, talk about. And so you guys are, if you want to join in, it's today at 3 p.m. New York Eastern time. And if you want to join in, you got to go to 343 Studio and sign up. So let's hang out today. Some of you here in the chat may already be a part of 343 Studio or have been part of the beta that we've been doing for a little while. So, if you haven't though, now's your chance to check it out. There's a free tier you can sign up for, but then also, if you go for the highest paid tier, I think that if I get it right, Thomas here in the chat hopefully can clarify that, and you can read about it on the website. But yeah, there's going to be a 14-day free trial to give you full access to all of the good stuff. So yeah, hopefully it'd be good to chat with some of you guys and talk a little bit today, and while I'm here in the studio for the Techno Fundamentals Masterclass, I guess we're calling it. Now, let's see. Speaking of talking about stuff, on Facebook very recently, an acquaintance of mine from here in New York and just sort of in the global techno scene, Ara Krikorian, otherwise known as Agent Orange DJ. There's another Agent Orange out there, so he calls himself Agent Orange DJ. But he's been producing a lot of kind of big techno tracks, DJ tools, things that the big techno DJs are playing. I mean, he had a record out very recently on Tronic. He's done tons of remixes of classic tracks, kind of updating them. But he put a post up on Facebook that kind of stood out to me, which is raw techno. Let's talk about it. Is it a thing? And then it says Beatport, because this is like a genre that's on Beatport. Is it really a genre? And there's there's 125 comments. There's this whole big discussion about it. And my thoughts are, I think people get, especially techno nerds and music nerds in general, but people get caught up in conflating adjectives and descriptive words with genres. So I don't mind calling it raw techno or deep techno or whatever techno, melodic techno, whatever that means. Raw is an adjective. Minimal is an adjective. That kind of stuff. Techno is a name. It's a noun, right? It's all techno. What do you guys think? I'm curious. What do you guys in the chat say about what's raw techno? Is this a new genre? What is it, if it is a genre? What's your take on this? I'm curious. I think it's kind of, this is a good one. Simple Sam says raw techno is undercooked. Yeah, that could be it. Maybe it's crispy on the outside. Maybe it's like a rare steak. Raw techno is like a rare steak. It's got the crust on the outside, but the inside's a little bit blue still, a little bit bloody. Live Society says unmixed. I mean, you joke, but you may be onto something. Something like when you think of something raw, you think it's like rugged, unpolished, not as refined. But then there's plenty of stuff that you might think of as raw techno that has punch and power and grit, but is polished. So, it's not that simple. What does dot initial says here? Raw techno, less super produced, modular snippets, harder drums, less polished. Yeah, I think somewhere in there. I mean, I think if you're going by like how Beatport might categorize it, and I'm guessing like, a site like Beatport has so much sort of commercial, more leaning music, EDM, et cetera, and like the techno that charts on the main, they divided up the techno into like more commercial, less commercial, but there's so much crossover. To me, it's all techno. What's that? George Sprackling, welcome. George Sprackling says it's not plant-based. Okay. Lately, there's been a lot of food metaphors on the streams. I don't know. You continue. That's fine. What else do you guys have to say? Alessandro Braz says dub techno. Could be, but I've heard some very pretty, pristine, shiny, perfectly mixed dub techno, as well as some sort of dark or noisy or bassy or heavier dub techno. I think, if you think of the early Basic Channel records versus some of the later ones that are smoother, right? Like the earlier ones are more raw. And then Simple Sam asks, so is it to distinguish old school techno from EDM techno? I mean, all right, I wouldn't say old school because there's plenty of very cutting edge, forward, or even experimental new school techno that is not EDM or commercial. So I don't necessarily think it's old school. I think it may be more like, a little more underground versus a little bit more commercial. But again, there's so much gray area between those things. And a more commercial big room techno track, I mean, I do that sometimes, right? I don't mind that. If it's good, it's good. But I really, really love, kind of personally, as far as like what I like to listen to and what I am inspired by, is probably more on the underground sort of forward thinking or experimental side. I mean, that's what inspires me. I don't always make music like that, but it inspires me because I'm hearing new sounds. And I think that's a lot of what I like about good techno is when there are new sounds. And that's a nice little segue back into the masterclass today, that's one of the subjects I wanted to talk about, is what makes it techno? What is it about the feeling and the vibe and the sound of techno? And what is it that, because you can have all sorts of genres, subgenres of techno, but they're all tied together by something. I just thought it would be interesting to discuss that. So we can continue this conversation later today, 343 Studio. I'm doing a masterclass, 3 o'clock New York time, Eastern time. And we can continue this and then actually, apply it a little bit and talk about some different sort of concepts and basics and fundamentals of techno in general. Cool. You guys keep talking about this. That's good. Now let's move on a little bit to what we're going to do today on the music production side. And, also Beatport was on my mind because I know relatively recently Beatport and Loopmasters teamed up. And very recently, 343 Labs has been talking to Beatport and Loopmasters. And they provided us with access to Loopcloud. And I don't usually go for like collecting lots of sample libraries. I mean, I do use samples occasionally. I might look for something specific. I tend more towards like, sounds that are maybe different than what I would do, or, organic sounds or unusual sounds, or, things that are a little bit outside what I'm practiced at, and I also look to samples for occasional inspiration when I'm maybe a little stuck. I'm not sure which way I want to go, or I just want to try something new sonically and kind of get a spark in a different direction, right? So that's usually what I look to samples for. And of course, also I do my own sort of creative sampling with, like, on the sound design side, like taking audio and manipulating it and resynthesizing it and things like that. So it's sampling for me is just part of synthesis and making sounds as much as it is like finding a cool loop or a sound effect or a vocal to drop into your track or something like that. But what I definitely don't do is like build up tracks from pre-made loops and construction sets that are all, I mean, I know this again could be a good starting point. It's a good learning path for people who are still kind of working out how to create their own sounds and write their own melodies and things like that. You can learn how to arrange and remix with existing parts, right? So that can be a good exercise. And, sometimes we do that in classes here at 343. But anyway, so I thought, though, it would be, interesting to take a look at what I haven't really, up until this week, I barely looked at Loopcloud. I know what it is. You can take a look at it right here. Let's move over to the main screen. So, this is like it's an app that lets you browse sounds and preview sounds. And, it's Loop Masters. It's like selling all its samples to you in a creative environment. And, we can organize by types of instruments, by genres. If you're familiar with certain sample label producers, you can look them up by those names. You can also look up formats, what kind of audio, whether they're plugin presets or other types of MIDI files, things like that, right? And then I haven't done this yet, but you can also use it to organize your own personal sample collection and, tag it and arrange it, and then use this Loopcloud interface to get it together. And then Loopcloud interfaces directly with your DAW through a plugin, right? So this will make it so Loopcloud can sync, the BPM of loops and sequences into your DAW before you even bring it in. You can even like play a sound, like, right now, I just, randomly found this sort of weird vocally pad kind of spacey effect, which I thought sounded cool. I haven't even bought it yet. Like that's cool about it, is like you can try out the sounds and play them and sequence them before you even like spend any money on the pack. So that's kind of cool because you don't have to commit to buying a bunch of sounds before you know whether they'll work. So that kind of makes sense, right? And in addition to that, they also have a couple of plugins which also interface with their cloud catalog. There's this Loopcloud Play, which is a sample-based synthesizer, right? It can do what most samplers can do. Maybe it's not like simpler or sampler, right? It's somewhere in between those in terms of, live world. It's got some built-in effects. It's got some I don't even know if you can edit the audio. I think really this is intended to like use one-shot samples. It's loading up instruments, simple synthesized sounds and other sounds based on pre-existing edited one-shot samples, right? And we have a simple interface, this main interface, and then you can get a little deeper with modulation and do some basic kind of subtractive synthesis with these samples and add effects and things like that. So there's play, and then there's drum, right? So this is a, sample-based drum machine. It's got a pattern sequencer in it. It's very easy to use. It's got a mixer. It's kind of like, it's something like Battery, but very simplified and stripped down. And then, again, you're able to load up sounds from the Loopcloud, from Loop Masters online library of every sample they've ever released. It's kind of fun to just throw together something quickly this way. And, it does random kit generation. So, it might throw out some things that surprise you. Now, before I dive in, I'm just going to check in with the chat a little bit and see what you guys are saying about all of this. And hey, Max Wild is here. Welcome, Max Wild, our fearless leader. Simple Sam is asking, so seeing this Loopcloud sample thing, what do you all think of the new Waves sampler and sample? Yeah, so that's another thing. There are other options out there that are similar. So, but this is what we have today is is Loopcloud, so we're going to take care of that. And Din McKine says Loopcloud has plenty of great electro packs. Good to know. Maybe we'll do this again another day and produce some electro using some of the Loopcloud packs. I need to do some more investigating on. There's so many, and that's another thing. Like, we'll get into this when we're making some music here, but like it does take time to get through all of these sounds. And when I'm in the moment and making music, I'm not 100% sure I want to be stopping and browsing libraries while I'm trying to make music. I kind of maybe want to do those things separately, but that's why we're doing this. We're seeing, how does this work? All right, let's listen to some music. I mean, I started a sketch this morning just to fool around a little bit. And this is what I started with the drums. Let's take a look at Loopcloud drum. And, when you first start it up, actually, you know what? Let's just go from scratch on this, just to see what the process is. And when you first load it up, what do we see? All right, it's loading up. It's making sure it's connected to the internet, and you get this startup screen. Eventually I'll uncheck this, show it startup, but you get your tutorials, you get your support area. You can choose a preference for how it starts, whether you start with a basic kick, a random kit, or load the last kick you used. And you can change, your content, like wherever it saves all the stuff. It's just using the default location. And I don't know, I have it set to load random kick. Let's see what happens when I click start creating. And what do I see here? All right. I don't know that that's a totally random kit. It looks like over here, it's all coming from this Loopcloud welcome pack. But if I click that little infinity symbol, we can go to this kit generator. This is kind of one of the unique things about it. Well, all right, there are other tools out there that do sample organization. Someone remind me, there's like a really powerful drum sample organizer and sequencer out there, X something. What am I thinking of? I'm totally spacing out on what that's called. That's kind of like a way more deep version of what we're doing here. But anyway, let's see what happens. If I click generate, I'm going to get a whole bunch of, all right, you can see did that change anything? Here's what I suspect. All right, I know why it's not, okay, it is changing it. It's probably not doing lots of radical changes because I don't have a lot of samples in here, right? It's just, maybe it's just loading up from what I've got already. All right. All right, so that's a quick way to do it. Of course, you can also click through, and you can see every time it's downloading a sample from the cloud that's not downloaded yet, it makes you wait, right? So that's one of the little things that I'm like, I want to go fast. I don't want to wait for samples to download, but it's still kind of cool that it does that fairly quickly, I guess. All right. Now let's see how to make this thing work. Now, all right, I'm going to turn off the other tracks. I guess that's just some kind of default rhythm. Definitely not exactly the techno vibe I'm going for today. And you can see on the bottom there's a step sequencer. I can turn that off and play them with MIDI notes as well. But let's just get started with the sequencer. We've got 8 patterns, and then you can combine those patterns into sequences up to 8 in a row. Let's turn the sequence off, and we're just going to listen to one pattern repeating. And let's get that kick drum going. So I just selected the kick drum. Now it shows the sequencer for the kick drum, and you just basically enter a step and a velocity level. Now, I don't really love that kick drum. That's nice and snappy. All right, let's take a look at that hi-hat. We also have, you know, in addition to which step is active and velocity on that step, you've got, you can repeat notes per step. So right now that one's doubled. It's creating that little roll in there. Let's turn that off. And I don't know, let's just be 16th note hi-hat. So you just click and drag across really easily and do some up and down sort of velocities for groove. I'm not even thinking too hard about this. I was just thinking while I'm doing this, like this is not a highly complicated instrument to use. It just works kind of straight out of the box. And there's something to be said for simple, straight ahead tools that you can make something quickly. So this could work. This kind of workflow could be good for a lot of people who maybe don't want to get too caught up in too many steps before they get something, right? It's very immediate working like this. Looks like that hi-hat's getting cut off there. There's a choke group, right? So any of these pads that are on the same choke group are going to cut each other off. What if I turn that off? Or maybe that sounds just really, really short. Let's find another. That's cool. And I'm not even thinking of that as a hi-hat. It's just kind of a cool, noisy percussion sound. And I like this extra kick drum, this lower kind of, it's almost like a low tom or a timpani or something like that. This is something I like about this sequencer, and I'm sure there are other similar sequencers out there, but it's nice to be able to click on a step and do the velocity at the same time. It's, you know, akin to using MIDI notes and hitting it higher or, you know, higher velocity or lower velocity as you enter the step. So that's kind of a nice little feature about this. Right, XO. That's what it is. Daniel from IntelliGel. It would be cool to see me trying XO. He found this to be one of the most game-changing plugins you've tried. All right, I'm putting it on my list. Because that, from what I understand, that's like, you could have every sample on your hard drive, all your percussion kind of all mapped out visually, and you can, yeah, I'm going to try that. That sounds fun. I think, what did I see? I saw a live stream with somebody doing this. Kyle Geiger did something with XO. That's where I saw someone making techno with that. Anyway, I kind of like this as a starting point. Now, all right, I'm not going to arrange my track in this, right? I like this interface for quickly making a loop or a couple of variations on a loop maybe, but once that's done, I can export that. Now you can export it as, you can create a new audio loop if that's your workflow and you want to, you know, stick to audio. I'm going to click the MIDI button. That's going to turn that sequence into a bunch of notes. And if I click and drag that into a slot on the track and then turn off the sequencer, now I should be able to just play that. Whoa. Did it just, oh, did I just accidentally generate another kit? All right, that's buggy. I have noticed a couple little things like that, a couple of odd behaviors with these plugins sometimes where I'll start or stop and it'll like do something weird. Anyway. Okay, I see what I did. Now I know what I did by accident. I turned the, no. I don't know what's going on. It shouldn't be going through the different sequences, through the different patterns. Not exactly sure what's happening there. That's something we gotta, maybe it exported. I see what it did. I didn't realize that that's how it worked. This is the first time I've ever using this, so bear with me. This is like, just like you guys trying out a plugin for the first time and figuring out how it works. It looks like it exported both patterns that were in the sequence. So, all right, no big deal. Let's just make the bar, that's the pattern, 1 bar instead of 2, and then we won't have that halftime thing going on. All right, so now I have all the MIDI, so I can sequence it, I can change the rhythm, I can make variations, I can arrange it more easily in the way I'm used to. But since, you know, I haven't committed to audio, I can still go in here and tweak the sounds. I can play with the tuning, I can play with the filters. There's a little bit of basic editing for these sounds, right? You can choose where the sample starts, you can tune. A little saturation on that kick, thickens it up a little bit. These could be mapped performance controls too if you were using this in real time. And then you've got delay and reverb built in, and there's a mixer. So here we can also, this is important because, you know, because of this workflow they have where you can build a beat and then export an audio loop. Here you can get your kind of mix polished up before you export the loop. And then let's try some, there's already some reverb on a couple of these sounds. I don't want to mess with this too much, actually. Let's try the master effects. All right, we got sample rate reduction. And I kind of like that. It was already doing some kind of crispy, crunchy stuff on the top of this kit. There's the drive. That's useful. Kind of a DJ mixer style filter. Low pass on the left and high pass on the right. You could just use that in the arrangement. Option click will get it back to its default position. All right, and then we have a limiter, which it looks like we're kind of already hitting. I don't want to go too hard on that. Sounded good where it was. Anyway, and then of course we've got our sends, we've got panning. That's nice. A little bit wider. That's a good start. That could be like most of a track almost right there. Let's check out what it was that I had going on earlier. All right, that's what I started out with. Similar, right? Kind of similar vibe. That's what I was going for today, was finding these chunky, heavier sounds that are not your typical 909, 808 kind of sounds, but have a little bit more thick grit to them, right? And then, you know, I did the same thing. I generated a pattern, I dragged out some MIDI, and then I broke it down into variations just by removing parts. Also, there's some heavy sample rate reduction on that. There's all that noise going on. Same kind of hi-hats as the other one, basically. Although this one has kind of a chunky open hi-hat. I'm not 100% sold on the open hi-hat, but it works for now. Might tweak it or put some effects on it or something. All right, and I'm also still working on that snare drum. Right, it's sort of a placeholder, but it's kind of okay. Maybe I want it to be noisier, I don't know. Nice, heavy, kind of jacking with a little bit of rolling feel to it. All right. So this, I feel like, this is a good start of a track. And I think definitely both of these plugins that I'm using here, Loopcloud Drum, it's a good track starter. It's a good way of getting going quickly, and it's a good way if you're interested in exploring the, endless number of sounds there are on in Loopcloud. This is a good place to get into the drums in a focused way. Of course, you can search one-shots all you want in the main Loopcloud app over here. Where did it go? There it is. You can look at it through here, and they're actually, I'm going to come back to this. There's some cool sample preview tools in here as well, but it's this is more direct if you're just looking for one-shot drums and you want to get a groove going quickly. All right, so the next step was finding a synth sound, and starting with something bassy. I came up with well, anyway, let's look at play for a little bit. I pretty much just started with presets, and I haven't even gotten into like purchasing or downloading any packs or any individual samples yet. All I've been using from here is just what comes in for free with the intro kits. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've added anything that costs you dollars yet. So this is also kind of a exercise in sort of getting the most out of very basic bread and butter sounds, the kind of sounds that you get in a free sample pack. You can still do cool stuff. All right. Let's look for play. I'll just, we'll go through the workflow here. Are you going to load up? You going to behave, computer? It's coming. Taking its time. Well, there we go. Oh, we crashed. Okay. Time to go back to the chat while I reload Ableton Live. We've talked about this before. When we're trying out new plugins live on air and things go wrong, we just have to roll with it. What else is going on here in the chat? Many packs come with free sounds. Yes. Eric Bush asks, is Loopcloud the next Splice? Well, I feel like Loopcloud might have been around before Splice. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, Loop Masters has been one of the big sample companies for many years. So definitely the parent company's been around longer. Simple Sam says, I like that pattern. Thanks very much. And Patrick Lindsay mentions, yeah, Loopcloud has more features. Yeah, you'll see when we look at the actual Loopcloud app, there's a lot of stuff in there. Right. Live is taking its time reopening. Cross your fingers that that's going to be all right. Live Society says Ableton doesn't crash. LOL. Just going to leave that up here for a second. Hey, Absence in the house. Welcome. Losing track of time making music. I do that all the time. I'll have my headphones on and I'm working on a beat, and then like my kids are like, we're hungry, make dinner. I'm like, what time is it? Time just flies by. Cool. Now here's another comment. Live Society says, I don't use Splice. I think the Loopcloud stuff isn't as overexposed as Splice. Maybe. Again, Loop Masters, Loopcloud's been around a while. They have a very large collection of libraries from many of the biggest, sample producer, labels out there. So, I mean, they are definitely competitors, and you definitely will find a different variety of sounds on each. But I think now that Loopcloud, Loopmasters, and Beatport are kind of all one thing now, along with Plugin Boutique as well, that that's a pretty big deal, I think. Alessandro Braz says Ableton doesn't have the best presets for the synths. Where can you get presets? Well, Live just quit. Sorry, I just got distracted. Live just quit again. So It crashed when I tried to recover. So I think that last, like loading up that third instance of the plugin was maybe not a great idea. So I'm going to go back to my original version that I saved before the stream. That should load up no problem. And I'll have lost my new beat that I made, but that's okay. I still got some cool stuff to play with. So anyway, back to Alessandra's question. I mean, there's a lot of individuals and smaller companies out there that make presets and packs. And then also like, you know, something like Loopcloud doesn't only sell samples, they also sell presets. So I don't know, maybe I don't usually buy presets for synths. Maybe some of you guys in the chat can help out Alessandro with some suggestions for presets and packs for live in different genres. But I guess especially techno and electro, since that's what most of us are here for. Now, Daniel has a question. What is your go-to sample sources for making tribal techno like old Samuel Sessions or Ben Sims? Honestly, like back when I was making more music like that, I was digging in crates of vinyl and finding drum breaks from disco records and funk records and any kind of percussion I could find. You know, I remember like sampling some like Japanese kind of taiko drums, like any acoustic percussion is good sample source for that kind of tribal techno beats. That said, you know, you could go through any sample kit of acoustic percussion loops and chop them up, and they're going to be a really good starting point for that kind of stuff, for sure. And then, okay, Absent says forums for finding presets, definitely. Lots of crazy people sharing their presets online. So yeah, use Google, search the forums. You're going to find all sorts of stuff out there for different genres. Nice. All right, live is loaded up again. We've killed some time. Let's see if we are fully operational again. Okay, there's the bass. This is where we got stuck when I tried to load up another instance of play. So I'm not going to do that again. Let's just look at what we've got here. Oh, that's drum. See, they all look the same in Ableton Live. All right. So here, you know, here's a simple preset loaded up in play. And pretty much this is what you're going to get. You're going to get like some kind of nice picture in the background. If it's a plugin, if it's a sound or a preset created by an artist, you may see a picture of that artist. And you get some basic controls for controlling your sound. There's an amp envelope here, so the mod wheel and pitch wheels, the filter. It shows you which notes you're playing and an output level. But, you know, where the real action is here on the advanced tab. And, you know, this is pretty much it's a sampler, but it's like a subtractive synth where you have amp envelope, filter envelope, LFO modulation of filter and pitch and things like that. And then there's also some built-in effects. And then it has a sample stretch, right? So you can do that kind of stretching or compression of sounds. And all I did was pretty much go through some bass presets. And then when I heard kind of a raw, simple one that I thought was cool, or, you know, or at least I had an idea of what to do with it, I started tweaking, just like I would any other preset in a synth. I would tweak it to taste. So, you know, and you could, this is the browser, right? And we can go in, and just like in the full Loopcloud version, we can go by instruments, we can go by genres, we can go by labels. And yeah, let's see if I go to bass, close that. And then it's showing these packs, right? So it shows you the packs, and then on the right side, it shows you bass sounds. But so I went and found this grime square sound. Can I just, yeah, I can also just type in and the name of the preset if I know it. And there it is. And I saved 2 versions of it. This is pretty much what I started with. Although I remember I didn't save it with a long release time. Somehow the preset didn't save the envelope the way I set it. So I don't know if that's a bug or if I accidentally changed the release and didn't realize it. So I put a bandpass filter on it. I really like the way it sounds with the resonance. And it's kind of going from a bass line into a lead sound, but then I also like it down here. Right. Played around with the sample rate reduction again. The tilt is like an EQ. All right, here's where I changed the filter to a ladder bandpass with a lot of resonance. I also played around with a little bit of envelope mod on this sound to give it a bit more percussive knock. And anyway, I feel like what makes this groove work is, in how I'm playing it, where I'm combining 16th notes and triplets. So it's kind of straight and then swinging and then straight and then swinging. And that's the kind of thing and I came up with that just by playing it. Like I had the keyboard hooked up and just doing that basically, along with the drums. And I really love how that sounds. I like how this dirty resonant sound clipping into the distortion. And it's definitely an easy thing to play with in an arrangement. But I wanted to be able to do that and keep the bass, so I just duplicated it. So this is the same thing. Again, it didn't save the preset with the release in the right place, so let's shorten that. Now I can play with it, tweak it. I like this layered approach with this. All right. Just noticing in the chat, you guys are saying we're having audio problems. I've been doing this setup this way without changing it for the last few weeks, and it's been working fine. Maybe there's some kind of delay. Did we lose? Oh! I'm sorry, guys. You're absolutely right. This happened because I had to restart Ableton Live. We are actually missing the full audio. Let's fix that. Let's do that right now. How's that? Is that better? You guys should be hearing it full on now. You guys should be hearing it good now. All right, we're pumping. Let's put the synth back in. I should have thought to check that. Sorry, guys. I'm feeling this groove, though. And I also have that envelope modulation on the higher version of it. Although if I push it too far, it gets a little pitchy, tweaky, I don't know. Maybe too much. Just a little bit. This could be a track. I don't need to do too much with this. I feel like I want to keep this kind of simple and straight ahead and tracky. You know, I already kind of had the idea for arranging where the kick drum drops out. Right. And this is where maybe I gotta find the right snare sound, but see, I have to fix, now that I've reloaded to the original version, I have to go back and fix everything. Where's the snare drum? All right, not sure about the snare, but I think you can hear where I'm trying to go with it. It's like another layer of noise and energy on top of that. All right. Wow, I'm glad we got that audio issue figured out. Thanks for letting me know. That was I should know better after like doing this for so long to check that stuff. Glad you guys like the groove. I'm feeling it. This is something I would like to dance to, and I think that's a pretty good measure if you're working on a track and it makes you start bopping your head and you start vibing and you want to dance around a little bit. Don't be afraid. I love to, when no one's watching, I'm not going to do it right now. But when no one's watching and I'm really feeling it, I'll just like get up and dance around. And if I'm feeling it that much when I'm working on it, then that energy, that's the kind of energy you want to put in. If you're making dance music, it should make you dance, right? So, all right, I've got, we've gone over the drum plugin a little bit, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a little bit more to it, but it's really easy to get started. And I have even more to explore now. Now that I have it, I got to start going through the sample libraries and finding more sounds. And then, for a straight ahead, easy to use sample-based synthesizer play, it's pretty solid. I mean, I could say maybe I wish it did more, but that's not the point. The point is to get to the sounds quickly. And, this is really for when you're not doing deep sound design. You just need to find a sound, and, you can browse through this really pretty endless variety of sounds here in the Loopcloud. But this is still just kind of a limited view of what's available. So, and I was thinking about what other kinds of sounds would I want to add to this. And I don't necessarily want to go more up and more ravey and more bright and anthemic. I kind of want to keep it dark. Dare I say raw? What were we talking about earlier? But I was just sort of playing around and looking through different sounds in the app, right? And this is the thing. Let me go back over to the main view. This is where I kind of get a little overwhelmed. This is like if you've got ADD, this is just going to stop your workflow. I feel like you really need to know what you're looking for if you're using this while you're working on a track. It would probably be better to like spend your time going through this library and picking sounds and play, and not be like trying to get a track done. It's like your sound diving, sound design session, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll get faster at it. But let's see. I have a sound loaded up, right? And this is one of the nice things about this is you can go through and like play a sample within the browser here. Or if you're in live and you have this Loopcloud plugin loaded up, you can actually play the sample. And let you kind of preview it. It's sad now. Anyway, I kind of like that. I like that for like the break or the intro. All right, so I'm going to keep that as a possibility. Let's see about finding another sound. How would I go about doing that? And actually, let me pause there. Let's do this a little bit interactive. I know we're almost done. We're almost at 2:00. I can't believe how time flies. But what should we look for? Now, and the challenge that I'm going to give you is, let's find a sound from a type of instrument or a genre that is not techno. So like, and this is something that I do when I'm looking for samples. If I'm going to something like Loopcloud or whatever, and I'm making techno, I'm not necessarily going to look for techno packs to get my sounds from, because then it's just going to be kind of more generic, typical sounds that you hear in like every techno track. And yeah, we do that. We use our 909 kicks for drums and things like that. Maybe that's a little bit more okay, like bread and butter sounds. But for distinctive sounds, for unique sounds, for hooks, for weird noises, for melodic ideas even, or chord stabs or whatever, I like to look for samples that are not in the genre I'm trying to make, so that it is different on purpose. So that's the challenge. What genre should I browse to find an element for this? Where should we look? What do you guys say? Okay, so New Drexian says pad, mandolin, hang drum. Live Society says cinematic, atmosphere, or drone. I mean, yeah, that would work for sure. I'm curious to see how like mandolin would work, right? That's and hang drum, any kind of cool acoustic percussion, and that plus effects could be really interesting. Uncle Acid says some kind of sample from mechanic tools. Yeah, like machine noises, industrial like sounds, and I don't necessarily mean industrial techno, but like machines, big machines that make noises. All that stuff could be cool. Daniel says boom bap. All right. Well, let's see. All right, I'm going to go into genres. We've got, all right, all this bass music, blues, cinematic. For sure, I'm going to find something under cinematic. I mean, that could be anything, right? Country. Is there even like a country pack in here? I'm curious. All right, now this is going to be, I'm doing this for a laugh, but let's see. All right. That's actually kind of cool. I'm not kidding. Listen to that. Just that first hit, that boring kind of thing. That's a cool effect. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Is I just looked through a country sample pack and I got a weird guitar sample with a phaser on it that sounded awesome. I would use that. I'm not kidding. Just as a hit. Right. So, I mean, let's see. Right. It's not amazing, but I think I'm just trying to make a point here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let's see what else we can find. Anyway, you can see how easy it is where you can just put the MIDI right there. Let's try another one. I'm not going to do country anymore. Let's try, I don't know, cinematic. Takes a while to load up. I think we can add, no. What other genre? Labels, instruments. I don't know. Let's just see what we got here. Some flutes. All right, that's not going to work. Nope. I mean, theoretically, sci-fi impact sounds should work. All right, that's a little cheesy. But maybe maybe a different note, and I can put effects on it. That's another cool thing. I think this is really cool that you can preview the sound with effects and things like that. All right, the sweeping up and down little pitch thing is a little bothersome, but all right. I'm gonna go back. I think it's 2 o'clock. I pretty much have to wrap this up, but let me just get my other sound that I liked back. And I I found it really nice to be able to save, like when every time you quit, if you're browsing through samples, you know, you can load up different samples on different tracks and combine them together. You can have things playing on different patterns. I'm going to load up this this session that I saved earlier, and that's going to give me back that sample that I liked. At least it should. There it is. Did I get it? Well, I'm not sure that it's loading up correctly, so I might have to do this again another time. But you can save your work. You don't have to like buy it and import it and then forget what it was later. You can save sessions. So for the way my brain works, that's a really good thing. Let's wrap this up. A little bit rough today with the audio dropout and the stopping and starting. Sorry about that. Thanks everybody for joining in today. And I've already got my mind on what's going to happen very shortly in about an hour with 343 Studio. This is if you still got time to sign up and join in if you want to hang out and do a little more techno today. So thanks to everybody who was here. And then, did we announce the giveaway winner actually? Congratulations today to Shanksy. You have got, I believe, a $200 voucher, 200 Ableton bucks for you to use how you please with Ableton. Congratulations. We'll be in touch. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up now. I got to get ready for my next thing. Thanks to all of you. I will see you again next week, and maybe I'll see some of you in about 60 minutes from now. Have a good week. See you next time. Adios.